Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I am Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is the United Kitchens. I just love this show. Get so many great tips from our celebrity chef and nutritionist. Let's welcome Ricki McKenna. Hi, Ricki.
Hi, Dr. JACALYN. Good morning, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in this wonderful world. How are you?
We certainly appreciate your support. It's great to see your shining face, Ricki. How's the weather there? Is it snowing?
I wish. I'm in Houston, so.
Okay.
But it is somewhere in the neighborhood of 40-something degrees and crisp, and it's delightful, I think. Of course, everybody who lives here who doesn't love cold weather is running around freezing, and I'm out in my wool jacket and my hat and my gloves and going, I can breathe.
Well, it's funny here in Florida when it's in the 80s today. I haven't been out, but it's when it gets to 68, 69, people have sweaters on, coats,
Right.
They're wearing their boots. It's just funny.
It's the same thing here, but actually it gives you a chance to wear your winter clothes.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you said, boots. Yeah. It's funny because I've lived in Colorado in the mountains where it's cold. And I spoke with a friend of mine yesterday on my other cooking show, and it was 7 degrees.
Oh my.
That's cold.
Yeah.
That's really cold.
That is definitely cold. And you know, Ricki, a lot of places in the world, regardless of the weather, you know, with the war, there's so many things going on. People use food to help compensate for fear, anxiety, joy also. And as a celebrity chef and a certified nutritionist and someone with extensive experience in food and what it does to our body, I'm going to spotlight you. And if you would just talk a little bit about your background and then also how people can use food effectively to help them when they're going through a difficult time.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Well, I have been a certified nutritionist for almost 3 years. And I chose that because I realized that food made a difference with my kids and my family. Of course, we did have a big poster of ice cream cones that were piled on top of each other in the dinette in the kitchen, but that was not the main thrust of the meals. And I've had years of experience, and of course I still attend seminars in school as far as learning the new things that are coming out regarding nutrition. And I cook for seniors now. I chef for seniors and people with things like kidney problems. They have to have special diets. And even with or without a special diet for some condition that you happen to have, food brings us together. I mean, no matter who you are, where you are in the world, you have to eat. And there's such a thing as comfort foods. And there are some foods that I consider comfort foods that are healthful or healthy, however you want to call them. Potatoes, for example. And I have this thing about scrub, don't peel as far as the skins go, no matter what kind of potatoes you have. And those are good for you, especially when you use the skins on certain foods instead of tossing them or, peeling them. Those are the things that can help you feel good and also give your body a boost of nutrition because the skins contain a lot of the concentrated vitamins and minerals that are in the food. So that's one thing. In today's world, I would suggest something that it's so simple that it's almost not a no-brainer. Drink water. and put some lemon or lime or orange juice into it. Because if we get dehydrated, one of the horrible parts of dehydration is depression and anxiety, believe it or not. Just water, hydrating your body so that what you're drinking and what you're eating, all the nourishment that you get from your food, is actually circulated through your system. So water is vital. And unfortunately, there are many places in the world that do not have clean water. I work with someone who works with, it's similar to Doctors Without Borders, it's Health Bridges Abroad. And one of the things they find is the malnourishment of children. And they have to have, the first thing they have to have is clean water so that they can prepare foods, whether it's vegetables, mostly vegetables in those areas. But water is essential. Does that help?
Yes, it absolutely does help. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And
And
then
Chef,
there's
you have,
chocolate.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
And then there's dark chocolate.
Oh, yes, dark chocolate. We love that.
Actually, it's good for you in, certain proportions. It's really
Moderation.
good. Yeah.
Chef, I noticed you have something really cool there, some kind of new gadget. What is that?
Oh, you betcha. This is called a mandolin, and it is simply a slicer.
Wow.
And it has the V-shaped thing that you see, those are knife blades. And it works. I'll show you it in action. You put a food in here and then you go across the knife blade, and here's what you end up with. Whether it's the sweet potatoes,
Wow.
look at how thin they are.
Wafer thin.
They're between a 16th and an eighth of an inch. And this is what we're using today in our recipe because it's lasagna, but it's made without pasta. This is our pasta substitute, which is sweet potatoes. So for anybody who has gluten intolerance or celiac, this is the perfect dish because it gives you all the gooey goodness of lasagna. And I'll show you how it looks when it's finished.
I love lasagna. I have a gluten allergy, as you know.
Yep. Well, I'm going to hold it here, but we'll focus on it a little later. I made this yesterday because we're going to have some people over. And that looks, just like it's got mozzarella on top. And so what we're going to do today is make a little smaller batch. And I did make it yesterday with the ground pork, but you can eliminate the pork if you're vegan and use just the cauliflower. So I've got a big head of cauliflower, and we're going to start doing that today. But the mandolin ensures that you get your slices evenly, and I'll show you how to use it in a second.
Now, Chef, I have a question. If we're lazy, or I shouldn't say lazy because I'm only speaking about myself, is it possible to buy the sliced lasagna potatoes, I guess, already?
I haven't found them. I've found all kinds of things like butternut squash that's in zoodles, the strips, like noodles. But I haven't really found the sliced sweet potatoes. So either you get very good with a very sharp knife, because sharp knives matter, and you can cut the slices evenly with a knife. I'd rather trust the mandolin. It's easier, it's faster. Once you get used to it, it works beautifully. I have not found those. And here's our sweet potatoes. So we're going to start with that. And if you want me to go ahead?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. So our lasagna today is called sweet potato and cauliflower lasagna with or without pork, or you could do it with turkey, you could do it with beef. Typically lasagna has beef or veal ground, but today we're going to use ground pork. So the first thing that I'm going to do is mix up what goes on top of it, and we're going to let that sit because mixing it up first lets the herbs and it blend. This is cottage cheese, and I'm going to take about a cup of cottage cheese. Oops. And I've already chopped up some parsley. I do have some more fresh parsley, but we're going to use what I've chopped up right now. About a couple of tablespoons. And we're going to combine the two. and get that started. Because what I want it to do is evenly blend the cottage cheese and the herbs and an egg. And I use only organic eggs. And if you use organic eggs, you'll find that the shells are thicker than on the white eggs or the non-organic eggs. And I really feel as though that indicates that the chickens were healthier because they're fed real, they eat outdoors. They're free range. And so here we are whipping up our cottage cheese, egg, and chopped parsley, fresh parsley. And I use the Italian parsley. You can use any other kind of parsley that you find. That's fine. So we've got just about a cup. Actually, I'm cutting my recipe in half as I did last week and showing you how you can do something. That, believe it or not, that big dish of lasagna was half a recipe. So if you're cooking for a bunch of people, you can either use the whole or the half recipe. And what I'm doing differently today with my half recipe, okay, that should be good. We're going to let that sit and brew and combine together. And I'm going to take my onion. Where's my onion? About half an onion, half a medium onion. And I'm going to carefully chop that up because that will go in and get it ready to cook with the ground pork. I'm going to use the pork again because the other recipe turned out absolutely delicious using it yesterday. So as I say, you can do it without the pork, and I'll show you how in a couple of minutes. But first I'm going to slice my onion, chop it up. Okay. Can everybody see what I'm doing? I hope I have a clear view here. And then we'll get to the mandarin, or mandarin. I have oranges on my mind. How's the orange production in Florida lately? Is everything working well?
I have to say I don't really know. Because I don't drink orange juice.
Mm-hmm.
But the weather's been, I think, conducive to growing. We did have a couple of cold spots, and I only know that because the iguanas were falling out of the trees.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That's funny. I was actually on a call the other day, and I was talking to one of our team members, and I was walking back and forth outside out front, and I looked up, and there was a giant iguana just over me the whole time I was walking, and oh my, I went right into the house.
Well, they're actually friendly. I have found that when I've been in Mexico, sitting in a restaurant, there are some of the restaurants down there where the iguanas just kind of walk up and say, "Okay, feed me."
Yeah, I think they're very humanized.
Yeah, they're very much accustomed to humans. It's we that are afraid of them. I don't think they're afraid of us as much, although I wouldn't blame them if they were. Okay.
They look like little dinosaurs, but they're actually, it's quite interesting to look at them. They're sort of beautiful, even though they're very, what's the word? Intricate. Just all the different aspects to them. So I have a lot of respect for them. Just if they can stay where they are, and I'll stay where I am.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've got about a cup of onion chopped up here, and it calls for about half a cup. And I'm just going to throw the whole onion in there because I like onion. And as I said, intuitively, when you're making something that you love, you put in a little bit more of the things you love. So we're going to get started with the ground pork. I'm going to take that and put it in my skillet and add a little bit of olive oil. Just a second, and I'll switch the camera. Oop. Here we go. Technology, be with me. May the technology be with me and working. Let's see. Here we go. Whoop, no, we didn't get that one. Yes, we did.
There
Okay.
it is.
Ta-da! All right, I'm going to start it out on high, but my range tends to get very hot very quickly. So I'm going to start breaking up the meat because you want it to break up and get as much of it cooked and browned easily. So I'm just going to, it's been in the refrigerator, of course, so it's kind of cold. And sometimes you have to use your hands, but that's okay.
If anybody watching has any comments or questions for Chef, please feel free to post them.
Yeah, please. There we go. That should get it started. And we'll hear it start sizzling shortly. Okay.
Now, Chef, you've talked about this before, but how do you select the type of pan that you're using?
Well, depending on the recipe, of course. And I happen to like stainless steel. I do have pans that are non-stick, but after reading, actually, I may even do a blog about it and send that to you, Dr. JACALYN.
Okay,
Some
great.
of the non-stick pans are really off-gassing toxins terribly. And they are not exactly what you want because it goes into your food as well as just off-gassing to the person. Let's see, is this me? Okay. All right. Here I am. As I was saying, be very, very selective when you're choosing things like, remember Teflon? That
Yes.
was created for, actually for the military. And unfortunately, they didn't discover until after Teflon had been lining pans and pots for a while that it was toxic to humans. And so the formulas have changed, fortunately, but it's still very selective. One of the things that I've found is really excellent, besides stainless steel, I'm really a fan of stainless. And if you cook carefully, you won't have things that are burned on forever. One of the things they also recommended in this article that I was reading about them is ceramic lined pans and ceramic pans. And years ago, for some reason, I remember someone I knew had a set of glass pans, and those are fine. Same as for storage. Glass is inert. It doesn't leach things into your food. But one of the things they also recommended were the cast iron pans and pots. And I'm going to turn this down.
Now, with the stainless steel pan, doesn't that handle get hot?
No.
Oh.
No, it doesn't. If you get a good pan that's made properly, it should not get hot. And if it does, use your pot holder, or there are things like, I just happen to have this little gadget. You can see it's hollow, and it has little grip things on it. This goes over the handle.
Ah, okay.
And sometimes they'll have those in the grocery stores, the larger grocery stores, or in a specialty food shop. You know, like Sur La Table or any kitchen store. Here we go. It's browning nicely. And turn my little fan on. Okay. And so I've got my onion all ready to put in there because that's what goes in next. Followed by, let's see what goes in. We need to let that brown for about 8 or 10 minutes. And by the way, the oven has been preheated to 375 because it all gets baked. Now I'm going to add a little bit of thyme and oregano. And if you have fresh herbs, they're even better than the dried ones. So I would suggest that. And if you don't have a measurement spoon in your hand, you can always use the top of the jar.
Chef, we do have a question,
Okay.
and it's from somebody who I think is watching on Dr. Jacqueline's Health and Wellness because we don't know who it is. Can it be made the night before, or is it best to make the night you plan to serve? Good question.
Great question. Well, with lasagna, yes, you can make it the night before. Actually, that's exactly what I did with the other pan that I showed you. And that can just be simply heated, baked. You just reheat for about 15 minutes on, let's say, it bakes at 375, but when you're reheating, you can pre-bake to a point and then leave the mozzarella for the next time and put that in on top. Because the mozzarella, everything else will bake thoroughly through, and you want the sweet potatoes to bake through evenly. And you can leave the mozzarella off. For example, if we're going to bake it for about 30 minutes, 30 to 35 minutes, if you bake it for 20 to 25 minutes the night before, leave the cheese off the top. When you go to reheat it, put it in, preheat your oven back up to 375 or to 350. Line the top with the cheese like we're going to do, and then let it finish then. So you finish it and it's fresh for your serving it, for when you're serving it. Does that make sense?
Yes, and it'll look nice and pretty.
Oh, yes. It will be pretty.
Thank
And
you for the
actually,
question.
pardon me? That's a very good question. That's the thing about it. It can also be frozen once it's finished. We're just about ready here. So I've got my onion ready. And let me see what else. Oh, mushrooms. And what I've done with the mushrooms, I've got the mushrooms already chopped. It calls for crimini or baby bella mushrooms. So we took the mushrooms. Oops. Actually, let me show you what I've done here. Of course, I didn't wash the mushrooms. You wipe mushrooms with either a paper towel or a brush, like so. These are already wiped. And I've cut up some of them so that they're ready. And I just wanted to show you how I cut them for the lasagna because you want to be able to spread it all over the lasagna. So what I'm doing with this is I'll just cut them in half and then cut it in slices. Carefully avoiding my fingers. That's why the sharp knives matter, especially for something like this. Anything with a peel or a skin that you have to go through easily, make sure your knife is sharp.
I do love that knife.
Oh, this knife is absolutely wonderful. I have several of them. So I'm putting in the recipe, actually the full recipe calls for 8 mushrooms. So they want you to spread it out. And that's I think it's an 8 by 14 pan. They call for an 8 by 16 pan, which is kind of interesting. And so since I used a smaller one, I cut it back to about 5 mushrooms. But you'll see when you're doing it how much you get to cut up. So we've got our mushrooms, we've got our onions, and of course the onions go in first, which will be in just a minute. As soon as I make sure this is pretty thoroughly browned. There we go. And I'm going to remove these from the heat. I know you can see what I'm doing. Whoops. Trying not to get the ground pork all over the stove. I'm doing it carefully because I want to leave a little bit of the oil. That's perfect. There's about a tablespoon of the oil left in the pan. And that's what we're going to use to brown our onions and our mushrooms. So if there's any excess beyond a tablespoon, and you can see all the goodies from the meat is still there.
Yummy.
Yeah. And so I'm going to make sure all of it gets in there. Let's take our onions first. Okay. And we'll let them start to brown. And if there isn't a lot of fat, because I did get the lean ground pork, And you can always add a little bit of olive oil. So that's what I'm going to do. Just a little, maybe a teaspoon. And I'm scraping up all the wonderful ground meat from the bottom of the pan. This is why I like stainless steel. And I'll show you what I'm doing. Let's see if I can get the other camera again. There we go. You can see that the scrapings are coming up from the bottom, which is what you want because that's loaded with flavor. And there still has a residual of some of the added thyme and oregano. So we're going to just give that a little shake. See if we can get it out evenly. And I'm going to, my heat is now down to almost low because stainless steel, these particular pots, I think they're an old set of Wolfgang Puck, the chef Wolfgang Puck. The pots and pans. Oh my God. I have to tell you, I love these pots and pans. And I bought them years, probably 15 years ago. And that's what I love about stainless steel. The one caution I have, if you're using a hot pan or pot like that, and you take it off the stove and you want to wash it, cool it down first. Let it cool down first. Okay, now for the fun. We're going to put the mushrooms in about a minute, but I want to connect with my mandolin and show you how that works. I'm going to cut this wonderful potato in half. It's a big, fat, sweet potato. Even the sharp knives have a little tough time getting through them sometimes. Georgia, where are you? Okay, half. And I'm going to attach it. If you can see what I'm doing, this has sticky things that come through, spikes. So I'm going to put it right across there with the spikes and push it in as hard as I can.
They're like cleats on golf shoes.
Yeah, but you can see it holds it. So then we're going to take it and I'm going to anchor it on the side of the board here.
Getting a little arm work out there.
Oh yeah. Too bad I'm not Ambi armed or whatever. Then I turn it around and get the other side. Whoopsie, that's why I anchored it. Aha. See how easy that is?
Yes, so easy.
But look at this. This is wonderful. I can make a fan.
Beautiful.
Yep. I think we've got almost enough from half the potato to do this recipe. One more time here. There we go. And of course, as you push down, it goes further down. And you want to have the slices almost as evenly as possible. You can always take these and bake them as well. And I don't know about the rest of you, but this mandolin, or you can use a knife, has another insert that will actually cut the potato into strips or any other vegetable so that you can make sweet potato fries. And I think I've got quite enough here to line my pan. Okay, our onions are softening. Okay, we obviously have to work quickly here, so I'm going to put the mushrooms in. And mix those around. And then we have, excuse me, about 4 to 5 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes for the mushrooms to cook. In the meantime, I'm going to take the pan I'm using for today's lasagna, which is a square pan. This is a 9 by 9. And I'm going to line the bottom of it with my slices. And you overlap. I'll show you in a second.
We do have a comment. We have 2 comments, actually.
Okay. Hello.
This is from Karen. Easier on your wrists than a knife for large amounts of slicing. Love the mandolin.
Thank you, Karen. I do too. Okay, here's, let me put it on the other one so you can see. Okay, we'll do this over here so you can see what I'm doing. See the layers?
Yes.
And I'm going to layer that. Oops, it's hard to do that with one hand. Wait a minute. I'm just slightly overlapping them. It makes it really pretty. And put a little skinny one at the end. And now I'm going to mix this up just a little bit more. And get those mushrooms cooking. All right. So we now take, our garlic. How could I forget garlic? Interestingly, this recipe calls for putting the garlic in later than just when you start. And I'm only using 2 cloves. I have 1 big clove and 1 small one.
We do have another question, and this is from Nancy Wargo. Did you say where to get the mandolin?
Oh, the mandolin you should be able to buy in most stores that have cooking gadgets. I think even someplace like Walmart or Target may carry them. It is, I'll show you the box. It's the one that I have, I've had for years. But they come boxed with a couple of different attachments. Now I could use my garlic press, but today I decided not to. So we're just mince up the garlic by hand. And I'll get back to the mandolin in a second, but I want to show you the reason for putting the garlic in afterwards may be that the later you put it in, the more garlicky you're going to get the flavor. The more you cook it, the more it goes into the other, mixes in with the other vegetables and whatever sauce that we're going to use. But this way the garlic adds a little bit more flavor to it. So I'm going to carefully pick that up and add it to the pan. And it does stick to your fingers. And mix that up a little. And when you begin to smell the garlic, it gets aromatic. Then you know that you're just about ready to put the sauce in with it. So let's see. We're going to put about a cup of tomato sauce, and this is actually a tomato sauce that has garlic and basil in it. I chose that because it's one of my favorites, and it also makes a great pasta sauce. So in the meantime, we got 1 layer of our sweet potato ready, and I'm going to try to do 3 layers in this pan because it's fairly thick. It's almost 2 inches high. So I'm going to fill it up as much as I can. And now we're going to take our cauliflower, and I'm going to cut the cauliflower so that it's almost like steaks. I might need to make some more of the... I'm cutting the cauliflower into pieces that are about almost 1/2 inch thick. Now, other than putting them in something like this, as you would, cheese or something else, but this is wonderful vegetable. And you can also take this and actually broil or saute the cauliflower in like little steaks. And they're absolutely delicious that way. So we've got about 1/2 inch thick is our cauliflower. So that's ready. And let's see. I think we'll go ahead. Yeah. Let me show you what I'm doing here, because this is where you get to scrape all the goodies off the bottom of the pan so that it mixes in with everything. That tastes absolutely fabulous. You can see it comes right off the bottom of the pan. That's why I like stainless steel. So you get all the flavors and all the goodies put together. Let's put our sauce in. I want to make sure I get every bit of the sauce in there. Okay. We're going to mix that around a little bit and then add our ground soft pork back. And I have to tell you, it smells pretty darn good.
It looks delicious.
Yep, it really is. You could actually eat this once the pork gets a little bit more cooked. I like to make sure it's thoroughly cooked. Although it will go, of course, in the oven and bake. But if you were going to eat something like this, you could certainly do this and put it on a bed of whatever, spinach or even a pasta or something like that. It makes a great filling, and it would also make just a good meal if you wanted to do something. I'm not a fan of things like sloppy joes, but I guess this is similar to something like that. But it sure makes a great filling for lasagna. And what I'm doing is trying to break the pork pieces up a little bit more even so it spreads well. Okay. And we're going to let that simmer for a couple of minutes. Okay, we're back to our filling up the pan now. Wait a minute. It does look good, doesn't it?
Looks great.
It's yummy. Dr. JACALYN, there's got to be a way that I can get this stuff done. We have to figure that out.
Just send it to behind the green screen 24 hours a day.
All right. We've got overlapped slices of sweet potatoes. I'm going to make sure I have enough sweet potatoes to cover the rest of it again at least twice. And you know what? I'm going to slice a couple more, because even if I don't use them for the lasagna, I can take the slices and you can make an absolutely delicious meal with sliced sweet potatoes. And all you have to do is put them into a pan and saute them for a couple of minutes. They'll cook very quickly. So you've got the potential here for another meal. Let's get this thing anchored and go. Woohoo! Well, this
You're like a kid at an amusement park, Ricki.
Okay, I think we've got enough now. It's amazing how quickly that works. Right, Karen? Okay, so I think we've got plenty to do 3 layers. That's the idea. And of course, you can always take your sweet potato and then cut it up, or, you know, just bake it and enjoy it. Okay, so we've got our pan full here. And I think our pork is ready. It's bubbling. Our mixture. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to divide it into thirds somehow, approximately. Let's get a spoon so I can do that carefully. All right. Now, can everybody see the pan? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to spread this out. And it doesn't have to cover every inch, because the sauce will help it move itself all around when it's cooking. I just want to make sure I have enough for 3 layers. Okay, that looks fairly even. I'm going to break up that little piece of the pork in it. And then I'm going to take my cauliflower and deposit that on top. And you don't have to get it perfectly covered, but pretty much fill up the spaces and you'll have little pieces to put in. So we need 2 layers of that, so I think I have plenty there to do that. And then we'll take our mixture, our cottage cheese, and the parsley and the egg. And now you can see how it's mixed together. So we're going to take a spoonful of that and just deposit it on top. It's like putting the cheese in the middle of the lasagna. Just a wee bit around. Don't worry about getting it perfectly spread out. It will spread out. Okay. And then we'll do another layer. And I'm going to do the layer the opposite. I went this way with the first layer, so I'm going to go this way with the second layer. Does everybody follow that?
Yes, switch it up.
Yep. So when you cut it, it should hold together instead of all falling apart. And these are big slices, so we're going to have plenty. And if you have enough, you can overlap them so that there's no missing spaces. There we go. Okay, and we'll start all over again. I may not be able to fit 3 layers. This is going to be interesting. We may have some of this for lunch.
Lunch at Ricki's.
Yeah. Ricki's Kitchen. Here we go. It's funny, we went out for dinner the other night, and Richard ordered lasagna, and it came and it looked like a castle in the middle. They had it piled up on the sides and all in the middle. So, okay, there's that. And our cauliflower. And if you notice, I didn't add any salt and pepper. We can do that now on top, because there's plenty of spices in the sauce that I'm using. So I really didn't want to overdo that. Of course, you could add more garlic if you like. And I'm going to take all these wonderful little pieces of cauliflower and just put them in there. Okay, so you can see it's not totally covering it, but you want to have room for everything to mingle. And now I'm going to take my cheese mixture. And actually, this is going to be interesting. Okay. All right. And let's see. We're going to do just one more little skinny layer on top. Well, we're just about going to make it to cover the top with these. That's fine. Okay, and that's where we are at this point. And I tell you what I'm going to do, because it'll cook. I'm just going to slice this little piece up that's the end with the skin on it and put it around the sides. Kind of like putting the carrots around your roast, you know?
Absolutely.
And let that bake. Actually, I'll cover up that. And I'm going to put my meat, what's left of it, on top. And spread it out. And as I said, this is very edible as it is. We'll just put the rest of it on here. There we go. And of course, I've turned my range off. And since I want to put the mozzarella on top now, and it's easier to cut if it's cold, I've kept it in the refrigerator until now. And interestingly, I bought a great big piece of mozzarella so I could make it twice. And the funny part was, I forgot to read it carefully. And this mozzarella is already, it comes sliced. Look at this.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that great? You can do a wonderful caprese salad with this. It's already sliced there for you. But what I'm going to do for the lasagna, because the slices are almost a half an inch thick, is cut them in half. And this knife is sharp enough to do that. And I'll show you another way that we can put the cheese on top as well, or to cut it or slice it. Since that was my intent for originally, I'm just going to fill in a little bit here and get my cheese slicer. I'm sure everybody has seen these, the ones with the wire. And I'm going to take the cheese and turn it upside down to the flat side and cut right across it, keeping my fingers crossed metaphorically that it actually works because it is already sliced. And so what I have now is a bunch of strips, which I can fill in the top, and it will fill in, believe me. So you can do it either way using a cheese slicer. If you have a chunk of the mozzarella or a ball of it, use the cheese slicer because it makes them a little bit thinner. And so I'm just going to cut a couple more of these in half and cover the top. And we might even have it with a caprese salad tonight because I've already got the cheese. The caprese salad, by the way, would be a sliced beefsteak tomato that's sliced about the same thickness as these, about a half an inch or a centimeter at least, and slices of this wonderful mozzarella cheese. And it's topped with, I top mine with a Dijon vinaigrette with a lot of oregano and garlic. So that makes a nice salad to go with this, or just a green salad, or even a Caesar. All right, I think we have it. Got an interesting pattern going here. Okay, and I'll give you the close-up in a second. I don't think the mouse needs to eat cheese. Everybody see it?
Yes, magnificent.
And I'm going to slip that in the oven, which, as I said, is heated to 375. And when it's done, in a square pan, it comes out looking more like this. A rectangular pan. And yeah, it will. You'll find it's juicy and bubbling, and it cooks for about, what did I say, 30 to 40 minutes. So I'm going to set my timer to 35 minutes and wish it well. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I think there aren't any questions so far. We're doing well because we have to wrap up soon.
Okay, well, just a hint. You can also do this with either just the cauliflower, just do your layers and skip the meat layer. And what I would do, though, is take the cauliflower and give it a little saute in some olive oil, just a little bit, and use the spices with the cauliflower. So mix up your spices and olive oil in the pan first, and then just carefully, you actually braise the cauliflower first, just a little bit on each side, and then spread it out, same as I did, on top of the sweet potatoes, the slices of sweet potatoes. So.
Fabulous. My mouth is drooling.
Yeah, and what I would also add to it for serving it, I happen to like Chianti. And I like Chianti with Italian food. There's something about Chianti that goes with Italian food that's got tomato sauce and pasta and stuff like that. So I would serve this either with that or any red wine of your choice, or even a beer if you so choose. But this is a light lasagna that will just, people will love it. And make sure that when you're baking it, the 35 to 40 minutes, you might want to cut a little bitty piece off the side of one of the pieces of sweet potato just to make sure it's cooked through. But it's already been in, if it's been in the oven for 35 to 40 minutes, it will definitely be baked. So everything comes together and it makes a wonderful meal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Comfort food, by the way. It's healthful comfort food.
By the way, I was looking up about mandolins, and there are a variety of them. There's a huge difference in price ranges from depending on where you get them.
Now, I'm not sure where I got this, but this one is called Chef's Envy, and it's eons old, but that's kind of what you look for. Yeah. It's shredding, chopping, and so forth, and it really works. I don't even have a clue as to what I paid for it. As I said, I've had this probably for about 15 years. And every once in a while, I bring it out and I just breeze through things, especially for if you're into fried potatoes or something like that, or any vegetable that you want to julienne. It's great.
We also have a comment. Looks delicious. I think that's from Nancy. Nancy, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Karen, for engaging as well.
Yep. And all I can say is hearty appetite and have an absolutely marvelous weekend.
And Ricki, for people who are interested in contacting you, we have your banner up. But could you please let people on the radio know as well?
Absolutely. The thing that I'm seeing on the banner is Ricki's Kitchen. It's rickiskitchen.net. No apostrophe, just RICKIS kitchen.net. And you'll see me there with my favorite tool, which is a whisk, because I'm always whisking up something good. So you can catch me on rickiskitchen.net or on Patreon. It's patreon.com and / Ricki McHealthy, or please call me. And if you're going to text, which is preferable, put Ricki's Kitchen or something about kitchen in your text to 970-618-7607. And that way I'll know that it's from someone who was supposed to text me. And you know how that goes.
The Saturday night texters are like, oh, are they from this show or who are they?
Where did they come from? Who's texting my telephone?
Exactly.
I will text kitchen to that number, and then your text, your question or comment or whatever, and I will answer.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Ricki. It was such a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yep. Thank you so much. Everybody, blessings. Have a great weekend. Bye now.
Thank you, everyone. I just love what we're doing, and I really appreciate the engagement, the interaction, and the loyalty and the support. Our platform keeps growing and growing. We have people from all over the world. I kid you not, people are up in the middle of the night as guests on our show. It's just so exciting to be able to share people's stories, especially when we've all gone through this pandemic, and now with the war and all the things that are going on. We need to support each other, lift each other up, and just know that we're not alone and that we can help somebody today by sharing our story. I have a couple of personal messages I just want to share quickly. For those of you who don't know, in addition to being the founder and president of this platform, USA Global TV, I also have a second business, which is drjacalyn.com. And my whole focus there as a certified life and career coach and the listening mentor is to help people learn how to listen. When we learn how to listen to each other, we give each other a safe space to share. There is so much more peace in the world, and that is what we need. We need to start with ourselves, with inner peace and being authentic. When someone says, do you have the time to listen to me? Are we really showing up and listening? Or are we doing 2 or 3 or 4 things at the same time? Are we listening so we can provide a solution, even though they didn't ask us for a solution? Or are we listening and judging the person on what they're sharing? All of these things are not going to work in order to have peace internally as well as with others. So I offer a couple of opportunities. The first is the Elevated Listening Community. This is a community where you can join right now. You can go to the website. You see it there, drjacalyn.com/join. It's $11 a month. And what you will get for the $11 is the following. Every Sunday, you will get a 30-minute video from me. And I will start off with a guided meditation. From there, I will recap all of the key learnings from our programming. So we have between 17 and 22 live broadcasts every week. And as much as I would love each and every one of you to watch all the shows, I know that that's probably not realistic every week. So I recap the key learnings because we have people from all over the world sharing information with us. Then I provide some fitness tips because I'm also a certified fitness instructor. I'm a certified meditation teacher. And I end with tips on how to be a better listener so you can have better relationships. That's every Sunday. And then also once a month, we will meet on Zoom, our Elevated Listening Community, and we have the opportunity to go into breakout sessions and to collaborate and learn from each other. I'm really so much about having people meet new people, make connections, and then figure out where it is you can work together to support what you're both doing. The next thing I want to mention is we have a new course called The Power of Listening. We actually have 6 courses for The Power of Listening. This new one is the transition. It's how we go from living in a world based on ego and capitalism to one based on leading with our heart. You can sign up for this also on my website, drjacalyn.com. And then finally, I'm excited. My second book is available for pre-order right now. The actual paperback, and the Kindle version will be available April the 4th, but you can pre-order now. The book is Adversity to Awesome. I've interviewed some people who have gone through some pretty unbelievable things in their life, and they have survived and they're thriving. These are true life stories of inspiration from survivors of imprisonment, addiction, sexual assault, and more. So I would love to have your support. If you can go over to Amazon and pre-order that, I'd really appreciate it. All right, friends, we're leaving for now. You stay where you are. I'm going to run to another studio. I think we have 4 shows left today. The next one is The Listening Mentor, and my friend and our team member, Caroline Heward, is joining us. So please do come and watch and learn some tips on how to be a better listener. Thank you, Ricki. Bye.